Good morning, everybody. I'm still fighting this cold, but it is December 14th, Friday. We got 11 days till Christmas, and things are looking up, at least for me and my friend. I had some good news the other day from a friend. He likes to come and talk with me about markets and economics and geopolitics and things like that. But he mentioned to me that his 401k was just completely eradicated by the markets and by his broker. So I told him, really, I just manage my own. I don't give my money to a broker because brokers tend to lose it for you, and they make money no matter what because they get their commissions. So whether you win or lose, they win. So I told him I just manage it myself, and a lot of times you know more than a broker. And so we talked a little bit. I told him a little bit about how I short the markets, and I didn't really give him any advice on doing it. I just said, this is what I'm doing, and I'm shorting the markets. Good luck on that. Came back to me the other day, and he's all, I did what you said. And I said, what did I say? He's all, you said to short the markets. I said, no, I didn't tell you any advice. I don't give any advice. I never give financial advice. I'm not certified for it. I'm not licensed for it. But he said, he's smiling like a Cheshire cat, and he said, I made a lot of money back. And very, very risky, ballsy move, but he's happy. Now, going back to my liquidity crisis issue, it's okay to be able to short markets, but you can't do it forever. Because you got to understand liquidity. Liquidity is not just in the dollar. It's in every asset you buy. Many people who bought real estate during the peak in 2007, 2008, understand liquidity because they bought into houses. A lot of them bought, especially if you got in the last minute, oh my God, you got screwed big time. But they bought in, and then they couldn't sell. And when the markets crashed, they couldn't sell. Liquidity dried up. Liquidity is basically the balance between buyers and sellers. And if you don't have any buyers, you got no liquidity. If you don't have any sellers, you got no liquidity. You need to have actually both of them in order for the liquidity to be good. Now, if you're thinking about what I'm doing, I'm shorting markets, right? That's going to work unless we get a free fall. If we get a free fall, I got to get the heck out of there. Even though I'll be making a lot of money, I don't want to stay in it until the end, because a free fall for me, is beneficial because my assets are going to be going up. But at some point, because we have a dollar liquidity crisis at the same time, people are going to want to hold dollars. They're not going to want to hold short positions. So the short liquidity will dry up at some point. And if you're stuck in your shorting positions, you will get screwed when they go back the other way. And margin calls will come on in. And you could potentially, all that money you made, you could go upside down, because everything snaps back. They call it reversion to the mean or reversion to the average, right? Anytime you get say this is average, every time you get a psychotic move this way or a psychotic move this way, it oftentimes will snap back eventually, or drop or rise, whatever, eventually to that average, to that mean. So you don't want to be in it when it goes back to the mean, especially if you got in at the mean. So liquidity crisis for short positions applies also in a dollar crisis, in a dollar liquidity crisis. And we're seeing Europe kind of crumbling right now. I mean, a lot of the countries around Europe are starting to fight the European Union because it's showing that it's authoritarian. It's not this friendly, let's all hold hands and be happy together and have a great society in the future, socialist pipe dream that it portrayed itself to be. It's turning out that it was actually an authoritarian, crushing, communist, dictatorship type setup. Like I said from the beginning, I've been saying it for years. I did one of my papers in business school about the European Union and how they formed. And I know why they formed. They tried to do this vertical integration thing that made the United States so successful. But the United States didn't have a history between the countries when it formed. In fact, there wasn't much of states prior to the United States. They really just formed and linked together as new states started to come online and as they started to become more profitable, they all started to trade together because they're bordering each other. Europe is a whole different story. I mean, Europe has a lot of history of war and fighting in between. I mean, you got the Westphalian Treaty because of the Hundred Years' War and the battles between the Catholics and the Protestants, and the Muslims coming through and ravaging things, and the Europeans having to come through and save themselves from that. I mean, they're just war-torn. And so this is why if you look at the European money, the euro, they don't have people's faces on there, because people's faces, people tend to piss off other people. And especially if you're from one country and the person whose face is on the dollar, or I mean on the euro, is somebody who totally crushed your country. You're not going to want to be looking at that reminder all the time. So what do? They use what unites them, and it's their artwork, their architecture. So they conned this union to come together and to give up their sovereignty. So in a lot of ways, a lot of the countries don't exist anymore. This is socialism. Anytime you tear down borders, you're an open society. That's socialism. So society, socialism, it's all the same root. They want that openness, that just give away to yourself. And look at me, I'm sick right now. I have an invader in my body right now, and my body's not doing too well. I've been fighting this sucker for 2 weeks. Now think of my body as a country. I got borders, right? I got skin. It delineates the outside of my body, right? And yet there are still porous borders where things can enter, and, I got something coming into my country, into my sovereignty, that is really causing me some harm and hurt. I got massive headaches. I've got, my muscles were hurting the other day. And if I don't get sleep, if I don't rest, man, this thing just takes over, right? And if I don't eat right, this thing takes over. I got to sing in a Christmas concert on Saturday, which is tomorrow, and my voice is just shot. I'm going to sound good. Trust me, I'll make it sound good. I'll force it through. But the invader's not making it easy for me to do what I do best, right? Even tonight, I'm going to be caroling at a senior home. So, I want you guys to realize that open borders, open society, relinquishing of sovereignty, all these things are not good. And it's causing a financial crisis. See, initially it's beneficial when you open borders, because trade that didn't exist there before really picks up. I mean, it just, when we open borders to China, this is why China got such a awakening as a sleeping giant, because businesses just piled over there, and intellectual property and everything, and China just blew up real quick. But once they reach that saturation point that nobody talks about, it's almost like the liquidity crisis, where you can't get any more people to come in because prices have risen, wages have risen, regulation has increased. So all the costs of doing business in China are about equal to the United States, except through tariffs. China's totally screwed us through free trade, or quote, free trade agreements. And now the U.S. is putting tariffs on their goods. And look at that. We're seeing economic activity just shut down. And then the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates, making it expensive to borrow money, so you don't have any capital to deploy in any other country or in any business. And those people who already have borrowed money, I'm going right back into it over and over again. It's the same old story, but people don't get it. That's why I'm saying, if you got a little bit of debt, pay it off. Get out of it. Get out of it. I don't see any way that interest rates won't skyrocket, because the risk is going crazy. And I'm not talking about the Fed raising rates. I'm just talking about interest rates in general, because the Fed's not the only one who charges interest. They just give you the little baseline rate. I mean, if I'm an investor and I'm a venture capitalist and I want to lend you $1 million, and I see that you don't pay your bills, I'm going to charge you up the yin yang, like a credit card company. Charge you, 30, 40% on your loan, because I want to make sure I'm making my money back faster in case you decide to default one day. At least 30, 40, 50% a month, I make half my money back. Right? I mean, it's unbelievable what they're going to be charging people. I mean, you look at the credit card companies charging 29, 21, 29% APR. I mean, fortunately, the credit cards I use give me benefits. So, I mean, like I'm an REI shareholder. They offered me the REI World Card, which I love because every time I put money on that card, I get a $100 gift certificate to go to REI and splurge. So, I'm putting money on there, but I got to be careful that this is the drug dealer way. You get free stuff. Here, I got something that'll make you fly. It's free. You just try it right now. And then when you're hooked on it, then they're like, yeah, you got to pay for it now. No, you ain't getting it for free, right? It benefits me that I grew up with gangsters, so I understand the way they do things. And the whole world is run by gangsters. What's that Ice Cube Dub C Mac 10 song? Gangsters make the world go round, right? It's true. Gangsters make the world go round because they're out making moves. They're not afraid to go out and make moves. My friend is a little bit gangster in that I just talked with him about what I'm doing, and then he went out and did it. However, he came back and he's like, I did what you told me. Oh, no, I will not accept that. I never give you advice. You take responsibility for what you decide to do. Don't you ever try to, because if it goes against you, you're going to try to blame me. And I didn't give you any advice. And I've had that in past by investing with family or investing around family, and they heard it and they did the same thing. Man, they just lay into you. So I don't even talk to my family about what I'm doing anymore until after it's done. It's like, yeah, you missed out because you screwed it. You screwed me before. And when you screw me, I'll never do business with you again because I just don't trust you. I value my time. I value my intellect and my knowledge and experience and my efforts more than you do. And if you don't show me gratitude when I give you a benefit and all you do is blame me, because honestly, again, it has to do with timing. If you get in at the wrong time, it's not my fault that you got in at the wrong time. I told you what I did. I didn't exactly tell you everything I did, but my timing is good because I sit there and read and read and read and study and study and study because to me, my money is valuable. This is why I don't give it to a broker because the broker doesn't value my money. There's no incentive for the broker to value my money unless they're smart. If they're a smart broker, they will value my money. They will realize that commissions ain't crap if you destroy my account because you'll only get a few commissions off of me and then it's done. No, your incentive is to make me rich because if you make me rich, you'll be able to trade me a lot more and make more commissions. I am like that shark and you're like that little Plecostomus type fish that goes up on the side of the shark and nibbles all the parasites off of the shark, right? Shark doesn't eat that fish because it realizes that fish is keeping it clean and nice. There's a codependent relationship. And that's what the brokers of this world don't realize. Most fiduciaries don't realize that. I mean, you look at the Clintons, they're in big trouble right now because they're just stealing money left and right. And that's why when Clinton didn't get the presidency, the Clinton Global Initiative donations plummeted dramatically. And now they're under an investigation. They've got their financial people squealing on them. I mean, that's bad. If you respect people, people will protect you. Respect brings protect, right? My dad was a surgeon when he was younger, and he had his clinic in an area that was gang infested, gangs again, right? But these are little street gangs, right? These are the small fries. I'm not talking about them in the beginning. I was talking about mafia guys that they're big time business gangsters that, they'll cut you if you get involved in their business. But, these street guys were shooting each other in the streets and stupid stuff over small petty drug sales, right? And they'd have their hands blown off. Or my dad was a hand specialist, so they'd come in, he'd fix their hands. He had both rivals on his back. They're like, hey, doc, if you ever need anything. Of course, my dad never used that, but I mean, it's respect that he got from protecting them, even though he had no real incentive to protect them. They don't graffiti your property. Taggers like to bomb on things. They didn't touch your property. Like all in the area at the time, it was gang infested. Now it's not so much, but back then, I mean, the gangsters were big. It was the Reagan era, This is when Reagan clamped down on the mafia even, and really kicked them out of New York, at least on the surface. and cleaned up New York a lot. And then the mobsters came back in underneath the surface, through the Clintons and all that. Yeah, I don't want to even get into conspiracy theory, but I just find it so convenient that JFK was running. JFK Jr. was running for the same Senate seat that Hillary Clinton was running for, and he's a seasoned pilot, and his plane happens to take a nosedive. Yeah, that's a bit coincidental, especially all the other times that people were supposed to go against Hillary Clinton and they took a nosedive suddenly, like a couple days before. They were either supposed to testify or run against or do something against her. Oh, man, those Clintons are dirty. So, anyway, those kinds of people have made this world so flush with debt because they got people addicted like drug dealers to cash and to credit. So you need to start, this is not advice so much as it is just common sense. I mean, if you see the world is going downhill, get out of that situation. If you got massive debt and you haven't paid off your credit cards, Christmas is not about giving gifts from the store. People have forgotten what Christmas is about. It's about Christ. Christ coming wrapped in the presence, as a present to us. Divinity coming down to earth, wrapped in the wrappings of a human being. So what we saw was a human being. Much like when you give a gift, you wrap it with wrapper, and what you see is this nice wrapper, or depending on how you wrap, this crappy wrapper, with a ribbon on it, right? And you open the gift, and inside is the divinity. Well, the divinity was eternal life. He gave his body and blood for us to have eternal life, that whosoever eats of his flesh and drinks of his blood may have life everlasting. And if you don't consume of it, you have no life within you. So that's what Christmas is about. Don't get into debt, further debt. Anyway, Merry Christmas to y'all. Happy New Year. I don't know if I'm going to do any more videos unless something really psychotic happens. But I still expect that there could be a Santa Claus rally, even though things are super dire, because everybody's so negative. Perfect time for a government to come in or the Fed to come in, buy up stuff, and short squeeze everybody. So I think I'm going to take off some of my shorts, take some of my profits, and run for Christmas. Because at least then I'm at least in cash. And during a liquidity crisis for the dollar, I'm going to need cash to buy assets that have crashed in the markets. So that's why I like this strategy of shorting. No matter what, I'm ready to deploy capital into the markets. God bless y'all. Have a happy and prosperous New Year. And if I don't do another video, I will see you into the new year. Please like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and share away so that others may benefit from this information. Take care.